This is a continuation of our earlier lightning talks panel. Just a reminder, we're having 4 of these, and these panels are all about innovation, as you'll be hearing from the grantees of our first Innovation Challenge program, within the context of which 35 news organizations all around the world developed innovative AI solutions in their journalistic work, thanks to the support from Google News Initiative. And I'd like to kick it off with Neil Chase, the CEO of CalMatters, all the way from North America.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. I'm going to talk about a project called Digital Democracy. And I know it's a little weird to have somebody from the States come talk about democracy right now. But it's a thing we used to have in the States until this year. And we think we can still preserve it at the state and local level. And the whole idea is to serve this journalistic function of bringing accountability to government. California is a state that spends $300 billion US dollars a year, with a legislature of 120 people who do a lot of that behind closed doors and with very little scrutiny. So we're trying to address that. The guy on the left here is a guy named Sam Blakesley. He was the speaker, the minority leader of the California State Senate. And this is a picture of him in 2011 in his office at the state capitol with a giant press corps gathered around him. And this is a time when there were over 100 journalists covering the California state legislature. They were assigned to be at the state capitol and to report. Most of them came from places all over the state of California. They went to the state capitol. They were bureau reporters assigned to be there and cover what's happening and tell their constituents what's happening. And so a member of the legislature would have all of these people covering him. And this guy in particular, when he left the state legislature, he was very disenchanted about the way money was handled. There was no transparency. You couldn't see what the legislature did because some of the meeting rooms had video cameras and some of them didn't. And you could choose which room to have your meeting in, depending whether you wanted it publicized or not. When you had to make a decision, you can think about the people you represent, or you can think about the lobbyist who's paid to stand next to you and whisper in your ear and tell you what to do. And those people are right there and they're talking to you every day, and your constituents have no real interest, no real input, and they're not following what's going on. So he wanted to address this. He led an organization called Digital Democracy. The Lieutenant Governor of California at the time, Gavin Newsom, was there too. A whole bunch of folks got together and started this new platform. And at the same time, CalMatters was starting, which is the organization I'm the CEO of, the statewide news organization with all of 6 people at the very start. So these two things started at the same time. This digital democracy tool, the first version they built, they took all the video from the California State Legislature. They showed you what the legislature was doing. They let you get access to it and make little video clips and share them. It had a lot of information in there, and it grew. They tested it out in California, and then they built it for some other states as well. The downsides, though, when you build a lot of things and put it on a website, we all know this, people don't automatically come to it. And so all this information was out there. Journalists were using it. A few lobbyists were using it. But it wasn't getting a lot of attention. It wasn't having any impact. And it wasn't bringing any money. And the funders who initially funded it were hoping all the 3 things would happen, and none of them did. So they shut it down. They put it on hold in 2019. We came up and said, let's put these 2 organizations together. CalMatters, the news organization covering California, and this digital democracy tool to figure out what the state government is doing. We brought it into CalMatters. It was being run by a state university, which charges a fortune and is very complicated. We took it out of there, brought it to our newsroom. We built a website that brings in over 200 data points from government databases all over California. So none of this is proprietary information. None of it is secret. It's all government information, but it's impossible to find. It's in many different places. It's in obscure databases. It's not made easy to get. In some cases, there are forms that government officials still fill out by hand, and they fill it out with really tiny print, so it's hard to read. You can't even scan the PDF and turn it into data. So we're pulling all that stuff in. Most of it is done by bots and scripts and things, but we do have college students come in every 6 months. We feed them pizza and pay them $20 an hour to read these forms and turn it into data, the stuff that's just not machine readable. It now has in it every word spoken in the state government, every dollar donated to these politicians, every bill introduced, every vote cast, information about all the different politicians. This is the topography of the thing, if you really want to get nerdy about it. But there are multiple databases, there's transcription happening, and it generates these tip sheets, which I'll show you in a minute. The hardest part turns out to be the transcription. Even though AI can do transcription, those transcripts will tell you what the person said, but identifying the speaker is one of the hardest parts. If you don't know who said it, and you don't know they work for a company that just gave that politician money, you can't connect the dots and figure out where the influence is coming from. So we show the video. We have a transcript that you can jump around in it. We have a lot of information about what happened. And then we generate a thing called a tip sheet. And a tip sheet says, our AI tool, custom AI tool, has gone through all the data in the database and found out that this particular member of the Senate voted for a bill even though the California Medical Association was against it and they're a big donor to him. Because what we do is we start tracking the alignment between an elected official and the people who donate money to them. And when they go against their money, they go against their donor, they go against their record, they do something extraordinary, the AI finds that and generates this tip sheet. And the tip sheet has why it's a story idea, what we thought might happen, the voting results, everything you might need to write a story. It shows you where the money came from for this particular bill or this legislator, who's for it, who's against it, the history. And it's generated some really good stories. So for my team at CalMatters, we use it to try to find stories about some of the things we're covering. And one of the very simple data points that came out of it was that you could just, instead of voting no and going on the record as being opposed to your fellow legislator's bill, you could just not vote. We found hundreds of cases where somebody just didn't bother to vote, and they are now voting more often because of these stories we did. We found bills that died because they just got ignored by the legislators. We finished it for California. We decided, you know what, a lot of other states are asking about this. So with the help of this project, the Journalism AI initiative, we were able to build it for a second state, Hawaii. And in building for Hawaii, we had different color scheme, different data sets, all different ways that data is used. We even had to learn how the Hawaiian language works, because a lot of Hawaiian language words are used in their legislature. This is the speaker identification I was talking about, the hardest part that we still have not cracked. It's the most time-consuming and the most expensive piece. We got to figure out how to fix that. This has led to TV stories. It even led to a bunch of nerds, including Sam here, getting Emmys for the work they did. And it makes us think that we're on the right track here if we can figure out how to make this happen in multiple states. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Neil. Up next, we have Sami Gharbia, the publisher at Nawaat of Tunisia. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me here. So Nawaat started in 2004 as an exiled collective blog. It was established in Tunisia in 2011 after the revolution as an independent media. 10 days ago, on November 1st, we received a notification from the government to freeze all our activity for a duration of a month. So the product that we managed to build thanks to the Journalism AI grant, we couldn't publicize it, we couldn't communicate about it, but it is alive. So we are not competing other, we are trying, because we are born as a censored blog, a censored collective blog. We are still facing repression. We thought that we need a tool that will always make Nawaat a living memory of the entire recent history of Tunisia. So we have chronicles.nawaat.org, which actually summarizes the entire archive of the 22 years of our content that is published in French, in English, and in Arabic. So if you go there, you can ask any question about the coverage of Nawaat during the last 22 years, and it will answer you via the writing of really elaborated article with referenced articles that we published. And the technology that we use is twofold. A standalone website on chronicles.nawaat.org, which is using two LLMs, Claude 4.5 and OpenAI. And then we had WordPress plugin that is facilitating the work of the editor on the WordPress CMS website with 4 features that we'll showcase together. So this is like, if you go to the website, you can ask any question about the situation in Tunisia, any keyword, any person that is active in Tunisia as minister, president, civil society activist. It will give you all the answer based on the knowledge base that is limited to Nawaat archive only, and it answers you in the language of your question. And then you can actually turn that answer that the tools will provide you into a timeline. So it will show you the evolution of certain topics, certain region, certain person through the 20 years of archive. If you search for freedom of expression in Tunisia, it will give you a momentum. Those are the most important phase of the evolution of this topic in Tunisia. And you can scroll that and go deep into each moment of the history of certain topic of our coverage. And then we have what we call Nawaat time machine. Actually, you can pick a year from our archive, a month from our archive, and it will give you the thematic area that we covered during that very month or very year. And then going to the WordPress plugin, so we have 4 features so far. We have what we call taxonomy archive page. So if you go to any category, any tag, any person, any clickable internal archive page, it will give you a summary in 3 languages about what we covered during all this year, about the person, region, topic, etc. And the editors or the journalists have the full control of the AI summaries. And then we have bullet point summary for each article. If the editor chooses to have a bullet point summary above each article, the AI will generate those in the language of the article itself. And then we have quizzes. Under each article, if the editor chooses to publish a quiz, the AI will generate 3 questions and will help engage the user about the contents of this article. And then we have finding related content. If an editor or a journalist is about to publish an article, he can click on a button, and the AI will provide links to all articles that we published about the same topic of the article that is going to be online. And actually, that's it. It's short, and you can visit the website at chronicle.nawaat.org. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sami. Up next, we have Philippe Kramer from the European Correspondent, all the way from Switzerland. Welcome, Philippe.
Thank you very much. The very first thing I have to say about the European Correspondent, so that you get a quick grasp of what we're trying to do, is, you know, local newspapers, you know, national newspapers, but there aren't really any European newspapers for a broad audience. This is the thing that we try to do. And we're a relatively new company. So we thought this is the pitch that will convince the world that we should have this tool. We wanted Vika to be the first AI tool that doesn't write text. The reason for it is we have a clear audience strategy. We have tone and style guides. We have discussed so many times how exactly our articles should be structured, look like, etc. But journalists lose sight of that while they write an article because they have to make thousands of decisions. It is very understandable that you then forget a lot of the things that you've discussed a meeting 2 months ago. So what we try to build is a tool that increases the number of conscious decisions that you make as a journalist when doing your work. The way this is actually then looking is what we call VICA. This is the writing environment of this is now the example with one of our articles that we've published where we explained recession indicators by talking about labubus. If you don't know what a labubu is, ask your children, they will know. So this is where our journalists write their articles. You see at the very top there, you see this button that says Analyze. If you click it, it creates these dots on the side of an article. And in it, you would find what usually your editor would comment into an article. They would, for example, edit in there the comment, hey, look, you've pitched something entirely different than you actually wrote now. Can you maybe reconsider shifting the angle to the thing where we actually agreed this is interesting? We have in our audience strategy that one of the core stories that we want to make are stories that we call direct impact stories. These are stories where we can show exactly how something will impact your life. They're you having a new regulation on vaping, for example, will have a very clear direct impact on your specific life. And we won't be able, we want to tell you as our reader what exactly that impact is. So if you promise me a story about that, but then the comment actually, like if you actually read the article, it doesn't actually tell you what this does in your life, then we have missed the mark. And then you will get a comment like this into your document. You can go one step further and realize it would be really interesting in this article if you would include a quiz. It's one of these things that journalists tend to forget most often, that there's actually a community that you could engage, that maybe also before publishing this article, it would be interesting to already have that quiz in the newsletter or that survey in the newsletter or on your website so that you can already gather information from your community and involve them in the production of that article. So what you can see here is exactly one of these suggestions. Hey, do you want to create a quiz? And then you can, inside from that system, create that quiz and set everything up. What this system does is, you can see there's no accept suggestion and then it writes the article on its own. It bets on that our journalists do the thing that they know best, which is writing articles. No AI has to do that. But helps them do the thing that they lack, which is having a fresh perspective on their article, thinking about the next 1,000 things you can think about when creating an article. And with that system, we can create it. And the cool thing is we can, because it's a very, very flexible system, we can make it, to a certain degree, a feedback loop. So let's say you have a quiz idea here, then immediately out of that system, create that quiz. This is now from our technology partner, Mailix. If you find this interesting, talk to Cyril afterwards, where we can have in the inbox, you have an interactive email. So if I fill this out, I don't drop out of the inbox. So we have a really good system how we can get information from our audience. For example, we can run a survey directly in the newsletter where we ask you, what is your knowledge about X, Y, Z? You can ask to figure out patterns, etc. And then what you do, if you detect a pattern, in the background, it's a really easy system to set up a new kind of agent. We call them, they're not really agents. But the way they work is, in plain language, you define what should be noticed in an article and what should be then brought up as feedback. So, for example, you noticed that your audience is always confused when we use financial jargon. And it always seems to happen then. And you see that in a survey that people are really confused about this. Just add this as a new agent, and every single time an article like this has financial jargon in them, there will be a comment that says, hey, maybe explain that so that a 5-year-old would understand it. This system is all meant to already have a first editing round before an editor ever looks at it, while still keeping high the principle that everything should be done by a journalist. This has been incredibly successful. Everyone in our newsroom is using this system. Nothing, it is, at this point, it is really not that someone can imagine working around that system. It has become our everyday life. What we've learned from this implementation is whenever you build a process, that is the place where you have the opportunity to nudge something in the behavior of a journalist. So if you think in your publication about what exactly is your audience needs and how do journalists actually realize that they should be maybe thinking more about it, build it directly into the processes that they use anyway. And the second one, you can see that this tool is only so good because it's very, very restricted. That helped a lot with convincing the newsroom to then actually use it, but it also just from a concept perspective, that was the way how we got the most value out of it. And I hope that this, in whichever newsroom you work, will help you too. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Philippe. Before we proceed with our last speaker for this panel, I would just like to remind everyone, we've already announced the report, our AI and the Newsroom Next Door report, which is titled 2024 Innovation Challenge Report on our website, journalismai.info. So I'm just connecting the dots from you. The people that are presenting here, these are the same people that we spoke to when we were preparing the case studies report. So do check out the report, because all of the puzzle pieces that will come together when you read the report and you watch these amazing presentations. Having said that, let's move on. Nelly, Kalu, the editorial project and product manager from the Center for Collaborative Investigative Journalism from Nigeria. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. So I'm here to tell you about Election Watch, and that's a tool that we built off of this investigation. Last year, we ran a one-year investigation into Nigeria's 2023 presidential elections, and that investigation exposed quite a lot, and we decided to build a tool that we wished that we had at that time. Before I tell you anything about it, I figured I might start talking and forget that we're already testing it and people have made comments, so I just wanted to share with you. Our goal was to build a tool that strengthens press freedom and helps to protect elections. Journalists can use this to at least try to stay ahead of the disinformation and filter the news as quick as it comes. Newsrooms can map out their narratives and actors across borders during elections, and election monitors can spot disinformation trends before they all go nuts. And these are the things that we've been finding out. I made these two contrasting comments in bold for a reason. This one talks about how great the tool is and how everything is perfect. And on the other hand, this person finds it a little bit intimidating. Now, we could talk a lot about how that is, and I'll hopefully have time to explain it, but let me tell you why the problem we found needed a solution. For us, disinformation during elections confuses voters to the point where they're unsure what decisions to make, and newsrooms that they go to cannot in any way track those disinformation in time. On one hand, you want to inform your audience, and on the other hand, you have fact checks to do and keep going and then give them an opinion of the elections and who to vote. It's just craziness these days in newsrooms, especially when it's small. And so we came up with this idea, an AI-powered tool to analyze narratives, map out actors, and visualize election disinformation timelines. Now I'll click the very next one and tell you a little bit about that investigation. Now what we found out in that investigation was this. that there are 4 major factors that affect elections all over the world. It used to be that this will be the thing in the global south, but it's spreading now everywhere. First, disinformation around all information that they get during the elections, suppression and intimidation of voters, malfeasance of all electoral tools and electoral apparatus, and violation of electoral laws. They're the same everywhere you go, whichever country you go. But the definition of disinformation during elections changes during an election. You must always think of the malinformation part of it, the malice that is combined in disinformation during elections. That is because the goal of the political parties mudslinging false information is to actually get the audience, or at least the voters, so emotionally and passionately hyped that they will vote just out of that emotional reaction. Anyway, so our goal is to strengthen the reporting that we do and also safeguard that. And we found out this: election disinformation always equals malicious political intent plus real-world harm. We found that AI structured for task-based actions does a lot better in this case than generative AI. And of course, transcriptions. So this is what we did. We created a tool that does 3 major things. It analyzes the narratives that it gets off of social media. We did TikTok, Telegram, and Facebook, and there's one other one not coming to me, Twitter, that's it. So we analyzed narratives, we mapped actors, and then we showed our narrative timelines. That's what it does in basics. Then it will do a summary, and that summary will take you through a report that you can actually publish just for the sake of it, or use it to write a report. Now, our process, this looks simple. It wasn't that simple, but to simplify everything, we collect content from social media, news sites, messaging forums, especially the hard-to-reach ones. We clean them, and then we flag them and categorize them. When we do categorize them, you get an output on a dashboard and a downloadable report that shows you trends, where it shows you the narrative analysis, the actors, for good or for bad, involved in it, and of course the timelines for the spread of this disinformation. And this is what you get when you take a look at the tool. We made sure that Election Watch was an AI agent for one reason. You cannot use AI to monitor disinformation when it has the possibility of hallucinating and making up what it thinks it's saying. So you have to use it just like you do, as an agent, give it what it must do and keep it restricted to that task. Our goal is that as it gets intelligent, it will be able to iterate and it will become more intuitive, but not generative at all. Then, this was our narrative intelligence layer that we're quite proud of. This is exactly how we get to the point where it gives you those maps, timelines, and the purpose for what we have it for. The summary I told you is this story mode, so that if you're too tired, too busy, just go ahead and publish that, and it'll give you what you need. Now I'm almost done. We are a very small team of only 10 people when we built this. So we had to hire a developer to do the work for us. And this is what we found out in the whole process of product thinking, that it is collaborative thinking. And you have to think about what you really want to do. And this was our North Star. We discuss, iterate, debate, discuss, iterate, analyze, iterate, constantly in a loop, because we had a short time to do it, and we're working with people who weren't in our newsroom and we're not journalists at all. For us, simplicity was the thing, and I wanted a tool where people would look at it, like it, and want to use it, because journalists are too busy to have a tool that just doesn't stimulate the mind. So in your free time, you could use the tool when you're not in the newsroom or even when you are. We had 13 user needs that we had mapped out before it is, and by the time of this prototype, we fulfilled 11. And now I've been asking Charlie that I need more money to do the rest. So here we are. I wanted to leave with this because Lakshmi and Zena, they all told me, make sure you leave with something. So this, I hope, will be the thing. That in every time of confusion or chaos, if you're a small team building a tool like this, you must always return to your purpose, goal, and mission. It must be simple, everybody must know it, and believe in it. Every time, define everything you want, what it does, why it does it, why it should exist, and what success looks like, because that will be how you measure your failures. Then, let that clarity be your North Star. We had 3 non-negotiables for us, analyze this information, map the actors, establish the timeline. Whatever happens, the tool must do those three. And whatever you build, stay very true to your defined core. It doesn't serve those steps, then it is not the tool. And my developers will tell you that I said that over and over, that it won't be me who goes to JournalismAI and say, well, I changed the tool because this is the tool I want, and that's the tool we built. And for now, we do hope that when we deploy it and the 2027 elections in Kenya and Nigeria, that newsrooms will tell us exactly how those tools serve them. And Charlie, I'll be seeing you soon again. All right, thanks everyone.